it's the first time we ever played guitar together.
I think it is, and I've known you for close to 30 years, so
Yeah.
it's so fun to be here. Thanks for having me here at the tailor shop. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the legacy guitars that have been out in various different models. We've got some prototypes here. I think the one I'm holding is a standard 514 CE legacy, which has always been one of my favorite Taylor guitars. The legacies to me are an interesting project because they sort of reflect some of the first Taylors that I saw when I worked in a retail shop selling Taylor guitars. So we were talking earlier. That was just before your 20th anniversary. So I started working in retail in 92 and worked there until about 97. So a lot of these models are sort of the guitars that I used to sell the originals of. And I'm going,
right, so our 20th anniversary is when we introduced the Grand Auditorium.
Yes, exactly.
So you had our old, really square dreadnought, jumbo, and grand concert, and that's what you knew about.
And that's what I knew. And I remember, because I recently demoed the Legacy 914, and you know, everyone has like these couple dozen guitars if we've been in this business long enough that we sort of think back. It's like, oh, that guitar that I saw 27 years ago, right? Well, there was a 912 CE, or was it just a C back then because it didn't have a pickup. That is one of those guitars that stuck with me. So when I was demoing that 914 Legacy, I kept thinking back to this 912. That was a really special guitar.
Did it bring back some memories?
It brought back some memories, yeah. And Chris Proctor used to come in the shop playing his 912.
Yeah, that's who I was going to mention. Yeah. We worked that out. I remember making that guitar for him and a Koa version,
right?
Florentine cutaway,
very cool,
wide
very
neck.
Cool. Yep.
And fingerstyle was on the rise.
Well, and back then I couldn't afford the 912, but I ended up with a 712 C that I still own.
Really?
I got it in 94, so I've had that guitar for more than 30 years.
There's nothing like a guitar that's old too. I remember writing an article once in Wood and Steel urging people to trade guitars all they want, but pick a guitar and keep it forever.
That's right.
Because you can then experience.
Well, that 712 is that guitar for me.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. I don't always play it anymore, but it's still there. It still goes out to gigs. And, you know, it's a great guitar. Yeah. So these legacies, to me, have been really interesting in sort of several different ways. A, because it sort of rekindles that old sort of this is what Taylors are to me kind of a thing. I think it's been really interesting to see you guys moving into these three distinct lines. You have the V-Class sort of sound, you have the fanned V-Class sound, and now you're sort of bringing back this legacy X-Bray sound with these guitars. But you're also moving it into the future with some really new, interesting things that we might have here that aren't even available yet, but that are kind of a little glimpse to see.
Well, I've always been a fan of the 810.
The original Taylor guitar.
The original Taylor guitar. This one is slightly different. And you and I played it beforehand.
We did.
Who knows what comes through when someone's watching this on their iPhone.
Right.
But this one's richer, deeper, changed the depth of the body a little bit at the back end. Same thing here. Opened up the X-Brace. So this is more of an open X-Brace sound.
And I demoed the standard 810 Legacy on Peghead Nation, and it definitely had that sort of the sound that we think of as a classic 810. Right? It has that great clarity, that maybe a little bit less bottom end bass than you would expect from, say, a vintage dreadnought, but still has that distinctive sound that's worked for so many players.
Yeah.
And this kind of takes it into a little different realm.
Well, I think that music changes.
Yep.
And what people are buying or needing. You know, I see a guitar company like ours as being symbiotic with the player. Sometimes we're offering a guitar that they didn't know that they wanted. I can go all the way back to the very beginning, and we offered guitars that you could play easily. So for the first 10 years of our existence, we sold to electric guitar players.
Right.
Then
because of the
acoustic guitar players caught on.
Right.
I remember all the way back to Dan Crary. And I met him when we were in Lemon Grove, and we ended up with this Dan Crary model. And Dan came to me saying, you know, only sissies need guitars that are easy to play. I mean, he's like, practice, squeeze some springs, get some calluses,
Right.
be a man. This was Dan
Right.
then. He was younger,
Yeah.
but then he ended up with a guitar that's easy to play, and it's like, okay, I like that better.
Right. Well, there's building up the strength to build a difficult to play guitar, and there's being able to do things that you can't do on that difficult
Right.
guitar.
So because of that, because of making a guitar that was easier to play, I started noticing that we began to blend the talent of the acoustic guitar player with the electric guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
So think back when I was doing this in the 70s or the 80s, you never saw a capo on a Stratocaster, and
Right.
you never saw a pedal board on an acoustic guitar.
Right.
And now people
It's
just
all blended.
and part of that is musicians taking what was available to them and exploiting it to do their art.
Yeah.
So that's one way where the manufacturer can help. Then there's times when music starts moving in a direction.
Mm-hmm.
And right now there's a lot of sort of Americana singer-songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
people that are playing guitar accompanying their voice,
Mm-hmm.
people that are playing in jam sessions. So there's like a bluegrass guitar,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also that guitar that you just want to use as it's your whole band.
Right.
A singer.
Right.
I sing. I'm not a singer.
Right.
But if I was riding on the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central, Monday morning rain. I like the way that guitar sounds. This guitar sounds underneath that.
Right.
And so I think here I'm bringing back that my love for guitars, kind of in the style that I did.
Mm-hmm.
We have our other two voices.
Mm-hmm.
The gold label is
Amazing.
amazing.
And
It's
it
just
accomplishes some
amazing.
of the same goals, just in a different way.
It accomplishes a lot of that same goal.
Yeah.
It might be more. It's probably more even
Yeah.
than this guitar.
Yeah.
But I like I love the way this sounds because it's uneven.
Mm-hmm. Right. The imperfections sometimes make the thing that we like to hear.
Brian, Beach Boys, how come I can't say that?
Wilson. Yeah.
Brian Wilson, he said something once. He said, when every guitar player got their own personal digital tuner,
Mm-hmm.
music got thinner,
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he talked about a symphony orchestra. Is every one of those violin players playing exactly are they playing an A440? Are they playing A441 or playing
Right.
439? Is every horn, is
Mm-hmm.
every person there? But when you put it all together, it sounds wide.
Oh, you do it by ear. You match them up together for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, some of those imperfections I think sound really good, and
Yeah.
so having different flavors
It's great,
is good,
yeah.
and this has kind of brought me back to the bench, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Well, we were talking about that earlier. I think that is another really interesting thing about this whole legacy process is that it's brought you back into designing or redesigning some of these guitars.
I love it. There's a couple guys here at Taylor that helped me get these made,
Yeah.
and I can get on there, spend some time,
Yeah.
make a guitar, make another guitar. I'm an experimental guitar maker.
Right.
Andy, he's kind of like Beethoven, who could write music when he couldn't hear.
Right.
And Andy's like, I know if I do this to this guitar, it's going
It'll
to
do
sound
that.
this way.
Right.
And you're like, I don't know. I have no idea how.
You're
he does
like, I'm
that.
going to build a few and see how it goes.
I have to build a few. So sometimes I do stupid things just to
Right.
get it out of my
Right.
mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of fun with these.
So how does it feel to make sawdust again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we're not exact. We know that we're going to continue making legacy guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Last year it was like limited. We made a set of limited guitars that
Mm-hmm.
were wet signed, but we didn't think that we would make legacy series. It was our 50th anniversary.
Right, yeah.
That the idea was that. I said in some of our own promotion that at 40, let's say in the United States, when you're 20 years and 9 months, you're not 21. Something happens at 21
Yep.
in the US. You
Yeah.
can go have a drink.
Right.
Something happens at 18. You know, you're a legal adult,
Yeah.
right? That can't drink, right? And
So you're saying
legally.
when you build guitars, something happens at 50.
Something happened at 50. And when 50 came, I thought, okay, yeah, I know that I'm the new kid on the block in
Yeah.
guitar years
Yeah.
compared to Martin, Gibson, you know. But I thought, well, we do have a legacy.
Yep.
There are guitars. I have a guitar that's 50 years old.
Right.
It's still good. And so that was sort of the idea. We have something to talk about, but then it drew me in. I couldn't let go. So we'll be doing more legacy models. And most likely, I kind of envision it as this guitar being the pillar, the 10.
That's the
And then
classic.
maybe different, maybe
Yeah.
non-cutaway versions of
Right.
this, or maybe
Yeah.
maybe guitars without pickups, or maybe guitars with slot heads or 12 fret.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but all done in that same style.
Yeah, well, and that style, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think the fact that rather than going back and, quote, reissuing a certain era of Taylor, these kind of incorporate sort of the best parts of all the different, like you've got the NT neck, right? You don't have the original Taylor neck anymore. You have some of the design elements. I'm sure the X bracing was tweaked over the years to do a certain thing, and you've in some of these cases tweaked it even more. So these are kind of the best X brace legacy type Taylors you've ever made.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be a disservice to go back and try and make the guitar exactly in the way and the result that we made them back then.
Right.
We're better guitar builders
Yeah.
now, and we have tools and resources, materials and capabilities that are
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah.
It'd be like, you know, it'd be great if Ford would make a 65 Mustang, but they can't.
Right,
You bang your head on the metal dashboard, there wouldn't be a seatbelt.
right,
There'd be no airbag, you know? So you can't really do that. And
Right.
even if the government let you, you wouldn't.
right.
Because,
Yeah,
but if you did it in the same style, if you did exactly the same style, but there's some padding and a shoulder strap,
Yeah.
it could be cool. And so this is like that 65 Mustang, but it's safe,
right.
right?
Great.
We have different drying recipes now, you know, all of that type of thing. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you're thinking about moving forward with some of these guitars, because there are some new ideas that you're incorporating into these legacy type instruments.
Well, there's two aspects of that. It's like what's the basic design sense of the guitar, and then also what models will we make or how will we release them? Because most people watching something we're talking about, this is an interesting video because we might even be talking about what we're not doing as much as what we are doing. We've been friends for so long that you can come in and go, you know, what's on the bench
Right.
that you're working on for the future, which is
Right.
pretty cool.
But I also think people are interested. It's interesting to see a sort of a glimpse into what you are thinking about and are making prototypes of that may not make it, right? Because
That's
it's
right.
part of the process of figuring out what works and where do you want to take things.
Well, for example, this 810, nobody can see this.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't. It doesn't show up visually, but this is a short scale.
Right.
Some of the marketing people don't ever say the word short. It sounds like less, you know. But
Right.
you know, this is 24 and 7/8. It's
Yep.
the scale that we do on
The
grand concerts.
Right. Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
On this, it's richer. It's a little looser. It's great on hands. I'm 70 years old now.
And you get a sweeter tonality typically from a short scale, a little less tension on the strings. Unusual to see it on a square shoulder type dreadnought.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being able to mix and match some of these ideas.
Yeah, so I would imagine that the standard 810 is going to be the 25.5-inch scale.
Right.
That's really,
That's what it is.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
But these will probably come and go as a limited or a custom or something like this. Like I said earlier, this guitar, well, one thing I've done is I've made all the bodies
They're a little bit deeper, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're the same dimension here. They're deeper here.
Little deeper at
And
the
by the
tailbone.
way, for the guitar nerds out there, It's a quarter of an inch deeper, 6 millimeters, say 6.3 to be exact. If I split the difference, if I make it, say 3 millimeters or an eighth of an inch deeper here and there, leave the same taper, sounds totally different than if I change the taper and add it all at this end. Sounds better if you just change the taper. Those I learned through experimentation. Someone like Andy would go, well, yeah, of course, I know that, what I mean? And I know how different it is. I'm an experimental guitar builder. I like the way it sounds. It adds some depth. Even without changing the bracing, it changes the guitar for the better. For the better. I think that when we first started making guitars, we had these guitars that didn't have as much bass. That's what got them into pop music. That's what got them into recording studios. That guitar too was the same thing, because in those days, a lot of engineers were trying to take out tones that they didn't want. Probably recording is a little different right now. I know that there are people that actually want guitars that are more dead, more, I'm not saying this more dead, I think it's more vibrant, but what people want to take into the studio often is an old guitar that 40 years ago we would have thrown in the trash. And now it's finding its way into music.
Well, what sounds amazing to you sitting at home on the couch may not be what works in a recording context or even just an ensemble context, right? It's a completely different thing to find the voice that works in there.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy, I just got back from Mannheim, the Guitar Summit there, which is unbelievable. 800 guitar booths, it's unbelievable. And I was talking to someone who had a Taylor maple guitar, 6-foot, and what did they say about it? They didn't know that this was what I'd said about it, but they're like, this guitar's great. It's strong in the mid-range, and no matter who I play with, I can be heard. And we used to say that about maple. It's strong right
cuts
there.
Through.
It cuts through.
Yeah.
And you find that out when you're playing with a bass and a piano and drums, and you find out that they're already taking care of this end and this end, and you need to be heard right here in the middle of these strings, or you just disappear. That can happen on a recording too. Or maybe if a dreadnought was a guitar that someone's using in a studio, they might like the very original 810 better because it's tighter.
It's tighter.
Right
here.
Here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So different flavors are great. And probably an interesting thing to know is that at Taylor, we're always chasing after something. Like, what are musicians doing right now? What are capabilities? What is the natural world supplying us with materials? It's really easy to just think that since we haven't run out of rosewood yet, and we've heard about it, that we never will, because it's all just, talk. Well, it's not all talk. You know that. And so we're always looking at ways to get more from the natural material, make a guitar that it fits into, if we can't guide the way that music's going, we need to follow the way music's going. And sometimes it's it changes back and forth. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see where the legacy goes and where your findings in these sort of find their way into other Taylor lines, right? Because everything is connected in different ways. So I'm looking forward to demoing and playing the guitars that are to come.
Thank you.
And it's just been so fun to watch, to see you coming back in designing some of these things and seeing how your efforts and Andy's efforts go hand in hand and yet do kind of a different thing.
It's true.
It's really a privilege for you guys to be able to have that kind of an offering of these different arms of Taylor guitars, really.
It's a lot of fun because Andy and I are different guitar builders, but we have the same, the geek portion of us is like brothers from another mother. And then he kind of goes one direction with guitar building, and I go a little bit different. And a lot of it is based on how we play or how our friends play.
Right.
I'm having a fun time taking this thing off right in front of the whole world.
Right.
So that's what a new pickguard looks like. This has kind of brought me back to the bench again.
Yeah.
It's really
fabulous.
nice. You build a big guitar company, and people are going, "Oh, Bob, how do you enjoy your retirement?" And I go, well, "I'm not retired. I'm really not retired. Although I do have more free time or time that I can use, and so I'm using that time hanging with other guitar builders, seeing what people are doing, admiring other people's work, traveling, going to shows, things I didn't have the time to do, and then also working on this kind of thing, refining it, trying to make it better. I don't know anybody out of all my friends that make guitars that feel like they figured out guitar making, this is the formula, and they're sticking with it for the rest of their life. I don't know one guitar maker
I think everyone's
that's doing that. They're in a pursuit.
You have to be curious to start this process, and you can't stop being curious.
It never ends. People are just always trying to, I'm going to try this on this next guitar. Even if they're bench-made guitars and they're making 8 guitars a year, every one of those is something that they've learned from the last one that they want to try on the next one. And they do it quietly. They make their own decision about it, and they either do more of it or do less of it on the next one. So
Fabulous.
it's, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Great. Well, I can't wait to see what else comes of it. And so fun to talk. And glad I got a chance to see some of these new guitars that other people haven't seen yet. But it's going to be great.
It's fun. Thanks,
Awesome.
Tia. Thanks for coming by.
Absolutely. Let's play a little bit more.
Okay.